Welcome to the Filmsteins, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films or further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmsteins. Thank you for joining us today. I am joined by my little friend today, Lucy.
Hello, everyone. I was not expecting that one.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmsteins. Some recent episodes include Ridley Scott's Napoleon, the Netflix film Society of the Snow, Anatomy of a Fall, May, December, and the new The Color Purple. How do you say that?
Is it?
I always hate the redundancy and stuff, and that's just the nature of it, though, right? We all get it. Remember to leave nice reviews, comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. Please subscribe.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing maybe a surprising film. I did not expect to come across this film so soon into the podcast. But Greta Gerwig's 2019 rendition of Little Women. How about that?
How about that indeed?
Greta Gerwig is quite the filmmaker, I will say. Her movies are really fleshed out and, at the very least, beautifully captured. I didn't love Barbie, of course. I know you didn't either. But it's a beautiful movie. I didn't love Little Women, although I do think it's very good. I think it's better than Barbie. And it's a very beautiful movie. Our dress and sets are the kind of standout things to me, I guess, in this. And they are awesome. The jumping around in time is a little disorienting because our actors don't really age, which is we'll talk about. And I have a little bit of a problem with our so-called main character. But I did enjoy a lot of this movie. The second half is better than the first half. I was a little uncertain about Timothée Chalamet doing his thing, but he really sells me. And I think the real star of the show here, I think there's two, is Florence Pugh and Meryl Streep, without a shadow of a doubt. How do you feel about this movie, man? Do you have any experience with Little Women other than yourself?
I just got to a point where I wasn't laughing. I thought I had read this book, but watching the movie, I don't think I have. I think I'm getting it not confused, obviously, but maybe I thought I'd read it when I actually had read maybe Pride or Prejudice or Little House on the Prairie. I don't know, something along those lines. But I'm in total agreement with you that I like the second half of the movie a lot better than the first half, for sure. I'm not sure why. I mean, you know me, I'm a fan of period pieces, and I usually don't mind the simplicity of everyday life that period pieces tend to take you through. But just something here, and the way they were establishing the characters, I don't know, something was just a little bit too boring and maybe not lighthearted enough that I'm looking for in period pieces, because that is what I'm looking for in period pieces. I do agree with you that the costumes were great. They look great. I'm a big fan of that. Of course, who isn't in period pieces? What I don't like is the accents that these characters didn't have. Because when you hear, I mean, we've seen movies from the 1950s where they have this like just different way of talking. So now imagine from the 1860s, it would be completely different. And I wish that would have been incorporated here a little bit more. I know our main character, or our main actress here, Saoirse, is of some sort of Irish descent. So she has a bit of an accent when I listen to her in interviews and stuff. And I can kind of tell in the movie that she has not an American accent. And, you know, same with Emma Watson. She's got an English accent. So it's almost like you have different accents here that are not that accent I'm looking for. I'm looking for old-timey American accent that is loved and that just makes these types of films.
I hear you. I think Florence Pugh is also English.
Oh, okay.
So
she sounded the most American to me.
Oh, there you go. That's because she's the star. No, I totally hear you. And there's this storybook element here too, kind of like The Color Purple, where some reality is lost, and I am quick to excuse it because it feels very modern. This movie feels very modern, even though it does take place 150 years ago. It's kind of bizarre in that way, but I am quick to... It's real committed to the bit, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I guess then I shouldn't call it a period piece if it's trying to be modern.
Sure.
It's just a coming of age.
It is, yeah, because
with costumes.
It kind of misses that period piece romance of whatever period piece you're talking about, which I guess those late 1800 period pieces are often very romance-driven, taboo-driven, secrecy-driven, you know?
But we have that here. There's just not a focus on it. Because we have it with Amy and Laurie, a little bit of that romance that we never got to see bloom. You know, they bloomed their romance off in Europe somewhere. And then we have Meg, Emma Watson's character, and she falls in love with a penniless tutor. And oh my God, that's the period piece romance drama that I'm looking for. And we don't even see any of that.
Yeah, I think you're identifying the problem with this movie. We're a little too focused on just the most boring character. Like, not boring as in, you know, not engaging to watch on screen, but she's just a boring person. She doesn't have very interesting things to do or say, and I think she's aware of that, hence the book that she writes. She writes about her interesting family, and she's the mouthpiece for that. That's her interesting thing to give to the world, which is fine, but it's kind of like what we were talking about in May, December. It's like, but kind of the reverse in some way. In May, December, do we want a narcissist main character? Maybe not so much, you know. If we can have that interesting sideline character and kind of make up for it. But here we have a somewhat focus on the least interesting sister. And I'm hesitant to say even focus because the lack of power and like oomph she has on screen really gets kind of overshadowed by her another sister, Amy, Florence Pugh. And so I'm just like, I wish we just got, 25 more minutes with Florence Pugh, Amy, and, less with Joe. I'm just like, it's just a little bizarre to me, the focus in that way. And is it justified by the end? Because it kind of comes full circle, like, oh, she's boring for a reason, so she can give the mouthpiece to the rest of her family. It's like, okay, is that enough for me? I don't know yet, because I'm so interested in Amy's whole spiel of not really having a lot of faith, of just falling in love, and she's very happy and maybe very receptive to learning how to love someone. That's very cool. And that's the thing we don't see, which I wanted. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's important, though, because that's the whole point of Joe's character and Joe's motives to make this book, to express her life with her sisters. And I mean, she even has this whole speech when she's talking to her mother about how lonely she is, and she thought her sisters were enough. But, one got married, one died, one, stole her man. So now she feels super lonely. So I get that. I get the perspective there. But the way it's told, it's so boring.
I totally agree. And I see a little bit of an echo of this in Barbie, actually, where there's this early rejection of man in some way or another, especially through Joe. It's really is less of a rejection of man and more of a stubbornness of independence. But you see that in Barbie as well in a much more satirical way, I guess. So I'm kind of curious to go back and watch Lady Bird again, Greta Gerwig's, I think, breakout movie, which is great. I love that movie. That's my favorite Greta Gerwig film. I'm curious to go back to that.
Yeah, I've never seen Lady Bird. I've always heard good things, I guess. But I don't think I've ever seen it.
Do you remember the therapist in Beau's Afraid that's working for Beau's mom?
Yeah.
He's in it. And he's like, I think he's the school counselor or like school person who like helps people get into college or something like that. He's like he's just a really interesting character in that film. Who was your favorite sister? And were you sad when Beth died?
I did not have a favorite sister. There was so much lacking in each one that I don't know. I didn't build the connection with any of them, and I couldn't really relate to any of them whatsoever. So I don't know. But I mean, as far as performances, I would pick Amy with just how well of a job she did. Except when she's in the past. I don't know if I like that, or I'm just kind of not okay with that. But we can talk about that in a second. But no, I was not upset when Beth died. She wasn't built up enough for me to be sad. Although I do think that the way they told us that Beth died was it was phenomenal. It was genius. The way they decide to tell us hits you and shocks you, because we see first this scene where she is alive, or the scene in the past where she is alive. Joe comes running down the stairs. There's her mom and her dad and Beth sitting at the table. And then later on, we see almost the same exact scene recreated in present time, but it's just the mom there. And you're like, oh, damn, she died. But that's it. I mean, Beth is not a standout. Almost to the point that you're like, who's Beth? But, she plays the piano, so you can't really say that. You're like, wait, which is the not pretty sister that plays the piano? Oh, Beth. That's right. Also, why didn't they give Meg a talent? What was her talent?
A good housewife.
Oh, shit. But she spent all the money. She wasn't even a good housewife on fabric. I guess she sold it back.
Yeah, she was like the more traditional sister. Really the traditional one out of the family, because even Laura Dern's character she's cool. She's a cool mom. She wasn't like a old-fashioned lady.
But I mean, Amy was traditional too. But we still gave her an artistic talent. She still wanted to get married.
Yeah, but she was much more romantic about it. She was more of like your traditional period piece, Victorian era kind of girl.
And Meg was...
She was your poor...
Oh, shit. All right, got it. Yeah. Got it.
And I liked Beth's whole shtick and angle with Laurie's granddad, given the piano and him being really attached to her, musically, intellectually. And I mean, it's kind of stupid, but I was a little bit more sad by his inability, to come to the house and stuff. I was just like, damn, I wish I got more out of Beth, because this is really good.
Yes, definitely agree. That's when your heart stings a little bit. But no tears, no sobbing. You weren't there to witness that connection. And you weren't even there to witness his daughter's connection.
And it's kind of funny that Beth even died, maybe, because this movie kind of feels bubblegummy, like there's not really anything bad gonna happen too. So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a mixed bag in that.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised we had somebody die here. Well, I was surprised we had a sister die here. I thought the dad was for sure gonna die off in war somewhere, and we hear about it in a letter or something. But nope, they killed Beth.
Or like when Amy falls into the water through the ice, I'm just like, what the fuck? This is like all of a sudden this is a problem. But it didn't. They got her out real smoothly. That must be a normal thing.
Yeah, to talk about the whole way the story was told non-linearly, I kind of liked it, but I was just confused in some scenes where I wasn't sure if I was in the past or the present. But I was a little too bored that I didn't care to even figure it out. I didn't want to use my brain cells to find out, or I didn't even want to pause the movie to ask you what you thought. I know she tried to do it with the warmness and coolness in some of the scenes, warmness for the past, coolness for the present. And there was a time where Joe chopped all her hair off, so we knew in those scenes, but that was like way later that it didn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, it was already established, and
yeah,
by then, an hour and 40 minutes in, you were either on board or you're just not on
right,
board, and you're
right.
not going to get on board.
So I don't know. I don't know if that was the right choice or if she should have just made it so obvious. I mean, I love when other directors take a more obvious approach. One of my favorite ones is in the show 13 Reasons Why, and in the beginning of the season, I want to say it's the second season. No, it's the first. In the first season, we make Clay, our main guy, hurt himself. He fell off his bike or something, so he has this big gash on his forehead. It's so obvious. And boom, you know when it's the present and you know when it's the past. Or even more obvious stuff, like making it black and white versus colored. Yeah. Like in
Oppenheimer did that.
Oppenheimer? Oh, I was thinking Maestro.
Well, Maestro did it in a kind of funny way where the black and white was like strictly the good times between Lenny and Carey Mulligan's character. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
And then we had that switch when reality kind of set in. It was like the preface of the interview.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. That was a little bit different, but I know she tried some warmness and coolness here, but maybe make it a little bit more obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think it's really cool when you can establish that, and she does do it when the scene can tell it to us. But when we're just looking at the characters, it gets lost because our characters don't age.
Yes.
The only thing that seemed to me to really age was Amy's behavior.
Yes, which I didn't like that.
She became, she was very kiddie and playful and became very jaded. Which I liked it. I liked it as far as the kind of differential between the two.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I liked that it was obvious.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they made this woman look like she was...
Or tried
to make this woman look like she was 12, 13, even 14.
It wasn't working.
Like the childness, quirkiness, things she was doing were not... It was almost like they were too childish. And even with Beth, I mean, Beth was like feeding her dolls at one point and she's supposed to be like 13.
So I have something to say about this. I'm kind of maybe of two minds. We'll see. Part of me likes the childness within Amy and Beth when they look, late teens at the very least. Because
I don't think they look late teens.
Because there's something kind of romantic and storybooky about this in such a way that it makes me feel like maybe girls age a little slower here. You know what I mean? The 16-year-olds playing with dolls, that's fine still.
16-year-olds are getting married in the 1860s.
I know the realities of it, but there's a non-reality to the movie that helps justify it to me a little bit. And just a little bit. But and if you can just, in most scenes they're not playing with dolls, they're kind of have quirky,
yeah, they're just having fun
behaviors, is sold much better if we can just get rid of the doll thing, get rid of the play, that part of it, keep the plays that they kept putting on and stuff, do everything else, maybe get rid of the toy plane, and then maybe we can just up the age of all of these characters by 5 years. Because supposedly she's 12 or what, Amy's 12 and Beth's like 13 or whatever. Let's make them... Well, Beth obviously needs to be the younger one. Beth needs to be, 16, 17? Amy can be 18.
I think Amy's the youngest one.
Yeah, in the book.
Yes. But there's that sister rivalry with Joe and Amy being the youngest and thinking she gets away with everything.
Which was a little bizarre because we didn't get any texture in that. And especially because, I mean, Amy looks like she could be the same age, or if not older. Like, these characters all, with the exception of Emma Watson, she definitely looks the oldest of the three, but they are not young enough to, and they don't make a big deal about their age other than the toy plane. You know, that's kind of that tether, that real heavy tether to that youngness.
Well, they also put Amy in school.
That was super bizarre.
That's weird.
And
with other girls that looked like they were young. They looked like they were 12.
I thought she was going to be the assistant or something.
She was not the assistant.
And there's maybe something to say about there was no standardized schooling, so maybe you can go to school, maybe you can go to girls' school or whatever school, public school, at any age in this time, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, you could solve for that, but she's a kid, but she's really not a kid. I'm like, this is a little off.
Yeah, and I don't know how that could have been fixed. Maybe like what you said, age them up a little bit. Get rid of the
just
toys.
Age them up, yes, completely. Yeah. That would have completely done it because you change a lot from 12 to 19 to 20. There's a big growth spurt there. But from 17, 18 to
27?
Yeah, not too much. Yeah. Not too bad.
I still look like, hopefully, when I graduated, at 18, 19.
So there's a funny thing happening there. And I would have not enjoyed a recast, how we have half the movie and bounce between them, House of Dragons style, even the color purple, but the color purple, it does it with one character, really, because Mister's Kids, the adult version of Mister's Kids can be whoever.
Right.
But that important one is obviously Seeley. It's just, it's kind of a frustrating thing, and it made it a little bit disorienting, but for the most part, the color of the screen could ground you where you're at.
Yeah, and I think they did an amazing job with at least the ensemble of cast they had here. I think these people had some chemistry and they liked working with each other to some degree. So maybe introducing younger versions of them would have complicated that chemistry a little bit. So I'm there with you. No cast changing, no actor changing. But yeah, it was a little bizarre for me to watch that, for sure. Like this big kid with boobs playing with little tiny dolls. I mean, like, what is going on here?
It's not too far from what we were talking about in May, December, where you have these weird Hollywood kind of choices being planted. And it's like, I don't know. It's odd.
But let me just say, despite some of the boringness, this movie still had some drama. It still had some juicy stuff that I really liked, and particularly with Amy. And I feel like that's why you think Amy's the star here, because she gives the most.
I'm waiting for that Florence Pugh movie that's really going to speak to me. I like Midsummer a lot. I thought Don't Worry, Darling was going to be much better, and it's just not. And that's not a Florence Pugh problem. It's a Harry Styles and Olivia Munn problem. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, you went there.
But she's got a really powerful screen presence. Just period. Kind of like Joaquin Phoenix. She's just something that's just different about her that I like a lot.
Well, I wasn't talking about the actress. I think she's okay. I think she did as good of a job as Saoirse here and, Timothy. But I was talking about her character and the character choices. But just the character things we make her do here, I absolutely love. I love that we make her burn Joe's book. And then she steals Joe's Europe trip. And then at the end, she steals her man.
Awesome.
That's the period piece juicy shit I'm looking for that I only get seconds of. But I really like that.
And she comes with some of the most powerful dialogue.
And she does, yes.
She's good. She's the star of this show, man. Amy is king here.
And one thing I saw here was that Gigi made a very interesting choice to make Amy's character likable. In the book and in the other 6 adaptations of Little Women, she's not likable at all. I mean, she's in the top, like, 20 most hated book characters. Amy.
Wow, that's...
And here, she's just fun and kind of annoying, you know? She's an annoying little sister that went and fucking burned your book and is chasing after you after you told her she can't come with you, but they turn her around. Or Gigi manages to turn her around. And I like that. I like that we can make a character that's, like, think of a character that's super unlikable in a book and find a way to turn that character around. And that's pretty hard to do. Like, I'm thinking, you know, Umbridge from Harry Potter. Who has the balls to take Umbridge and make her into a likable character in any of their adaptations? I want to see that. So I'm impressed. I'm not familiar with the book. I'm not familiar with any of the other films. I would like to watch one just to kind of compare. But I can only imagine, you know, we all know what a hated character is.
That's awesome to hear, especially after you saying there are 6 fucking films. Okay. That reminds me a lot of, you know, of course, The Color Purple, where we have the source material, we have the book, we have these great adaptations of the book already, maybe 6 of them. Maybe it's time for something a little different, a little fresh. That's very cool to hear.
I think that's what she did here. And if I'm not mistaken, the other film adaptations did it linearly, told the story chronologically. So she definitely took some creative liberties with the film, and that's good. That's awesome.
That's what I'm talking about. Greta Gerwig.
Good job.
She's a filmmaker, man.
You're a filmmaker.
She is. I can't wait for her next movie. I didn't love Barbie, but man, there's just something about her movies, the 3 that I've seen at least, that is just awesome.
Yeah, maybe I have to watch Lady Bird to...
Lady Bird's awesome. It really is.
Be on her side, because I'm not on her side yet. Not completely. There's 2 scenes that I want to talk about that were my favorite scenes in this whole movie. The first scene is the melodramatic scene when Laurie proposes to Joe, and he doesn't take it very well. And the lines he says here just cracked me up. And kind of like the realness behind, have all men been saying this stuff since the 1860s? Because that's hilarious.
The games never change.
The games never change. And I want to read you 3 dialogue passages. The first one is, "I can't love anyone else, Joe. I only love you." Hilarious.
He's a player.
He's a player. Then he said, and it escalated very quickly, he said, "I'd rather hang myself than realize this, Joe. I would rather be dead." And that's when I knew all men were alike.
I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
And then this one just cracked me up. After, you know, Joe tells him that she believes she'll never marry, like no one ever again. Not again. That she'll never marry ever. He says, "I think you will marry, Joe. I think you will find someone and love them and die for them because that's your way. And I'll watch."
And we get a little punctuation with that at the end, because he gets so, I don't know, he gets like sort of defensive and like feels antagonized because there's another young sexy man in the house. He's like, "Well, what are you doing here?"
Who are you? And it's so funny. I don't know if this is in the book or if this is something Gigi came up with herself, because she's the screenwriter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's genius, and I love it. And it's that little modern piece that, okay, maybe this, I don't mind if it's a little too modern because it's hilarious. And then just the way he says, "and I'll watch," and then he just like stares at her like kind of like a creep, and it's so funny, and I loved it. That made me laugh so much. And my next favorite scene was when we discover that Amy got hit on her hand by her teacher. And I guess this is more of this whole sequence that happens right after that. You know, we discover, and I love everything about it. From when Laurie and the tutor are peeking at Amy through the window, and then they ask her, what's wrong, and she has this whole breakdown about how she's going to get in trouble at home, to when everybody just comes flooring into Laurie's house and they're all like mesmerized. It's like you find out that one of your friends is rich and they have all this shit, and you're like, cool, you have a ping pong table, you have a TV, you have a PlayStation, and they're all so excited, to the end when all that energy, all that love and commotion and excitement leaves, and we have these three men just left there, kind of like, what the fuck just happened? But they loved it, and it's like a little bit of brightness in their day, and then it just went away like that, and they didn't know how to feel right after that. And I love that she captured it here. That was a nice, very nice sequence. All of it was so chaotic, and it was good.
Yeah, I think it's arguably the best little sequence in the whole movie. And it's dissipated, perfectly, man. The grandpa, Mr. Lawrence, that's what they call him.
That's what they call him.
Mr. Senior Lawrence, he's kind of like Meryl Streep's character, just an excellent little side piece that's just totally in control when he's on screen. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's just like, all right, back to work.
Yeah.
Because he's even affected by it. He's not noticing they're affected by it. He is, obviously, but all three are affected by that energy.
Because he wasn't even in the room when they all stormed in. He came in like, what is going on? What is all this? And I loved it. Even the cute parts where Joe is like, oh my God, you have all these books. Why didn't you ever tell me? And then you have Amy here pointing to a drawing. She's like, will you buy this? Will you buy this? Like, you should buy this. And then when they're all leaving, and they're leaving, walking out the door, and they're still fucking talking.
The direction's crazy. These are the kind of things I'm talking about with Greta Gerwig just being... I can't wait for that film that she makes that I love. Because it's going to be a 5 out of 5 kind of situation. It's going to be an Ari Aster kind of situation for me. Because she has got this... She's just got that energy on lock, because there's a lot of scenes like that wrestling scene where they're arguing, like that scene right after she burns the book, the ball scenes, when they're dancing out on the porch, and there's probably like 15 scenes that are kind of in that boat where there's just like so many moving parts, and it's never disorienting, and it's always beautifully captured. Yeah. And it's awesome. It's very cool. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that sequence in particular, but that is probably the best sequence in the whole movie.
I agree.
Either that or the one where Laurie is in like Amy's studio. That might be my other favorite sequence, when she's an adult. Mm-hmm. And then every scene with Meryl Streep is amazing.
Oh, she's hilarious. She was hilarious. It's always a nice touch when movies give you some good humor, not your forced, what do you call it? Your forced, like the Marvel humor? What'd you call it?
I don't know. You can call it a lot of things.
Football humor? I don't know what you called it.
Like,
it was funny.
Like film bro kind of stuff. I don't know what to call that stuff. It's just this. It's the kind of humor that happens in real life, unfortunately, where you get a group of friends together and they just... Someone says something funny and then everyone repeats it in different ways, or everyone thinks they're funnier than each other and they gotta outdo each other. It's just like, guys, please, I can only cringe so much. So, but that might just be me.
But, even in those situations, those are your friends and you love them, and it's funny because they're your friends. Yeah. You don't need to put that on a screen. I would love Iron Man to be my friend, but he's not my friend.
So it doesn't hit quite the same.
It doesn't hit quite the same, but...
Meryl Streep is kind of like that grandma character.
Yes.
Where she's just too smart for her own good. She's got some quick ass shit to say, and you're just like, I want to hang out with you, but she don't want to hang out with you. So, you gotta just enjoy it while you can. Like when she doesn't... where she dodges Joe coming in for a kiss.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
It was Meg. Yeah.
It was Meg?
Yeah. She's like, I don't kiss like that. Like, or don't kiss me like that or something. It was so funny. Or when they ask her to dance, both Mr. Lawrence and Laurie, And she's like, no, I'm not dancing. And nobody managed to get her to dance. You know, I would feel like in other grandma movies, somebody would have gotten her to
Yeah, Timothy would have been
cave
the
in.
one.
Yes.
When he actually approached her, I had this feeling that was improv. I don't know what it was, but that felt kind of improvised to me, where he just had this, this moment of like genius. Timothy Chalamet did, and he went for it, and just because Meryl Streep's response was just like, I don't know, maybe she's just that good. Maybe they're both just that good, but it felt very improv. So I thought that was really cool.
I did watch an interview, and it was Gigi herself, Saoirse, Florence Pugh, Emma Watson, Timothy, Mr. Lawrence, I don't know his actor name, and Beth, I don't know her actor name either, and Laura Dern. Beth is Eliza, however you say her last name. And I really liked watching that interview, and the interviewer just sucked at asking them questions. She asked the worst questions ever. But the energy behind all of them answering the questions was great. But they were all kind of admiring Gigi and how she gave them a lot of creative liberties, and they really liked that. I know one of the scenes that they talked about being improvised was when Timothy Chalamet got on the chair when he was looking out the window and he saw Amy coming back, and him getting on top of that chair and then pulling the chair over for the tutor to crawl on. That was all improvised. And there were other bits and pieces that they talked about were improv, and just how much creative liberties they got to do.
That's awesome. I mean, that's just a great indicator of how, simpatico these guys were. The chemistry is off the charts. There's no doubt about it. When you can wrestle and not be cringe, like these girls did, that's good shit. Greta's got a good bunch here.
So how did you feel about the end, where Jo gets her book and not a man? At least that's how I took it. I don't think he was at the book scene, and she straight up told the publisher guy, whatever he was, she doesn't marry either of them. And he's like, well, I don't care. You're going to write that she picks one. I thought it was a very nice twist. I don't know if you'd call that a twist, right? But it fits her character, and I like it. I like that we didn't, all of a sudden, we're like, all right, you're right, you do believe in love, here you go. You said you were lonely, here's a man.
Yeah, sure, you could call that a twist. I guess you would half expect her to finally kind of cave, especially after the moment with the English philosophy teacher, her friend from New York, being in the room playing the piano, and he leaves, and it's like, oh, are you gonna go chase after him, kind of thing. I guess you could half expect that to end with her caving, because, I mean, they do kind of half set that up, but the other half is this, it's almost just like this insistence to reject, like, conforming. Like, she really is just stubborn, whether she's in love or not. She's just gonna be like, nah, dude,
I said no.
Yeah, single life for life. So I don't know, it's kind of a funny thing. It's a little unearned, I think, because she kind of she kind of, from the beginning, gets overshadowed by a lot of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as we enter, especially as we see more of the adult side of things. So, I mean, so it's a fine ending. It's good. It works, and I like the kind of meta looping of her writing Little Women. I think it's very cool.
I do too.
But I don't love that we end on the big note being hers, because it just doesn't feel earned in that way. And I just can't get away from her just not holding her own against Florence Pugh and Timothy Chalamet and even Meryl Streep. She just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's her story, and it's not. So it helps justify that. Like we said in the very beginning, she's the boring one. So I'm kind of having to negotiate this in my head of where this sticks everything, because our final sticking point is everyone together, all the sisters together and everything. So it's just like, I just don't know how I feel about it. I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Yeah, I can see that, especially because you know, she is a writer. So it makes sense to give her a book at the end. You know, she's sacrificing and giving for this book, but we don't see that like we should. That wasn't forced down our throats, or that wasn't the emotional tie we had with Jo, her wanting nothing but to write in this world, no matter what.
It's almost like she's missing a little bit of romance, I guess kind of ironically, because she's a writer. She is somewhat of a poet or storyteller, but she's missing that flair.
Maybe she should have been closer to her sisters. Maybe had some heart-to-hearts with some of her sisters. I know she kind of has that with Beth a little bit, but that's because Beth is dying, not because her and Beth are so close. You don't have to wait till her deathbed to open up. Maybe we should have had more of those. I know she has a quick one when Meg's going off to get married, and she's like, please don't get married. But it wasn't, please don't get married because we have this great connection. It's, please don't get married or I'm going to be alone.
It's almost like they kind of don't justify the way she feels about things.
Yeah.
Because we're sold on the conformity of things. All right, we want to go out and get married. Everyone does it. It's just how things are. But what's up? That makes her interesting, though. The fact that she doesn't want to do that. But she's boring. So why do you want to do it?
Why? Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, there should have been more of writing is my passion and writing is the only thing I want to do.
And there should have been this ironic kind of balance between her and other characters and conversations where writing in itself is kind of a romantic thing. So maybe I guess maybe Laurie does it a little bit because he's through and through a romantic dude.
He's a hella romantic dude.
But he's like your desperate romantic dude. You know, not a hopeless romantic. He's just fucking desperately romantic, you know?
If I couldn't get one sister, I'll get the other.
Like, he doesn't even want to get a job. You know, he just wants the love. He doesn't want to work for his granddad. I don't know. So there's just not enough there for me. But it does kind of fold in on itself and justify itself.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a funny negotiation I have to go through. And it would help if she was just a little more powerful on screen. Because that's the funny thing about, like, in Lady Bird, she's kind of a lame-o. That's important to her character.
Mm.
And it's awesome in that movie. But she's kind of the entrepreneur of the family. So I feel like she needs to be a little more outgoing or something.
Yeah.
But because I liked I liked the talks between her and the publicist or whoever, the editor. Those were fun. Because you could even see him kind of lightening up on her and stuff. And then we did have that one weird cutaway of him and his family.
Oh, yeah.
And his daughters or whoever are like, you know, we need to know what happens. Just like, that was a little weird. But it wasn't too weird. It was fine. So.
Yeah, overall, at least it was consistent.
Totally. It was consistent and
it looked good.
And it's a beautiful movie. And the chemistry is off the charts. And it's...
Yes.
I gotta ask you, what did you think about Saul from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad being their dad?
That was Saul?
Yeah.
No way.
That's funny, right?
That's weird.
Like, what is this lawyer doing here?
Why is he here? No wonder he didn't fit. Go be a lawyer somewhere. That's probably what he was secretly doing. He wasn't in the war.
I guess lawyers weren't very lucrative back in the day. He was broke. I guess they weren't that broke.
That's true. They could at least afford food and lived in a decent house.
Yeah, they lived right next to the Lawrences. I feel like that's got to say something. I thought that was hilarious that they were that close. You could see them from each other's windows. That was hilarious. Well, I got to ask, what movie could do for a musical reimagining?
What about Jurassic Park?
Well, I was going to say Little Women.
Oh.
I think Little Women is a perfect movie for a musical remake.
Yeah, that's better than mine.
Jurassic Park would be pretty funny, though.
Like a dinosaur singing away. But in roars, you know? Because they don't talk.
I guess they could.
They could talk.
In the musical.
Or you give them roars. I don't know.
They could just harmonize with their sounds and stuff.
That'd be kind of cute.
Yeah.
I'd cry.
I could see a musical version of Little Women only accentuating that kind of storybookness similar to The Color Purple.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a trick question. That was the movie we were talking about.
Yeah, I didn't go there.
All right, man. Well, that was a good talk. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for talking back.
You're welcome. Do you have a budget guess for me here today?
My budget guess is 60 million. Barbie was a lot, so maybe she likes to spend money? I don't know. Wouldn't have too many moving parts. Few sets here or there. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy with the costumes, no CG, so I don't know.
It's fair. It says here that it was $40 million.
Wow. Okay. 40 million though? That still seems like, 60 million was a lot, but I'm just going based off of Barbie being a lot, really. But Barbie was a lot. There was a lot of things in Barbie. And a lot of shit that I imagine had to be built and get super creative on. But none of that here, so interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if they like built those houses or whatever.
Yeah.
So but apparently it made about $219 million, so it made a good bit of money.
All right.
I didn't know it was a hit.
Yeah,
back in
she's
the day.
set with that movie and Barbie. Her next film, it's paid for.
Yeah, totally. No, she can, after Barbie, man, she's going to be able to do whatever she wants for the rest of her life.
Good.
I hope she doesn't make a Barbie. I mean, she can make a Barbie too if she wants, but I hope she, does something else. I know she's making those Narnia movies for Netflix, but, who knows when those come out.
That's true. And I mean, Barbie didn't really leave for a sequel unless it's Barbie out in the real world or Barbara, whatever her name is.
Who's Barbara?
Isn't that Barbie? Isn't that her real name?
Oh, okay.
She's not going to go as Barbie in the real world. She's going to go as Barbara, right?
I don't know. Yeah, a lot of money though. That's very cool. I didn't know that was a big hit back in the day. It's very cool.
Yeah, and I wanted to see it solely because it had Timothée Chalamet and Emma Watson, probably two of my favorite actors. Well, really, I like Timothée Chalamet as an actor. I like Emma Watson because she plays Hermione and
Gotta
Belle.
support her.
Yeah, I gotta support her now. Like she's my childhood dream, being Belle and Hermione. So gotta support her now. And anything she does now, I'm a supporter, just by blood here.
It's like supporting your sports team even when they're bad.
Exactly. So I didn't really know what this movie was going to be about because of Gigi, and I thought she would be a little bit more preachy about women and stuff, but she wasn't, and I like that.
Yeah, she is a very tasteful storyteller in that way.
Yeah.
All right, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, with 1.73 million people over on Letterboxd weighing in at a 4.1.
Whoa, that's way too high.
It's way too high. Barbie's way too high too. They're good films. They're arguably great films, no doubt, but the fours are a little high.
Yeah, that's a little high. That might be one of those scenarios where you love the book, so you gotta love the movie.
Maybe. I think Greta Gerwig's got a little bit of a bump happening. I think she's super favored, and I see why totally. But true, the classics bump, no doubt. We see that with, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right.
To Kill a Mockingbird is authentically not a good movie.
Yes.
This movie's a very good movie. Barbie's a very good movie. There's some very good things in Greta Gerwig's, mind.
She's got good direction, for sure, yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird, how about To Kill that movie? You know what I'm saying?
To kill myself.
To kill
More like it.
Got him.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.53 in that realm. I'm in that realm.
Yeah, I'm in a 2.5 realm too. I think I'm locking that in though, because I just have a problem with the boringness of it. And it is somewhat justified, but I just have a problem with it. So I don't know. It could flow to a 3, but it's 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I think mine's floating towards a 3. I could get past a little bit of the boringness with some of the savageness that goes on here.
Sure. And I could actually see a proper remake of this almost completely from Amy's perspective, where she is a bitch. And then she's bitter about the book coming out and everything and stuff like that. You know,
that'd be hilarious.
That'd be cool. It still takes her man, but she's still bitter that she's like uber successful, and even though she's married to, you know, a rich guy, and that'd be cute.
I don't know about cute, but I'd watch it.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening to this episode. We're going to keep you on your toes. You never know what's coming next.
For real. I never know what's coming next.
And remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with brand new episodes of the Filmistines over on patreon.com/Filmistines, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the goods. Remember to leave nice reviews, comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com, and come request a movie. Any movie.
Any movie?
I mean, I'll decide. I might veto some shit. I'm not scared.
Even
not watching Velocipaster, I'm telling you that.
Velocipaster?
No, fuck that.
Or The Greasy
Strangler?
The Greasy Strangler?
That's a great movie.
That is a great movie, surprisingly. It's a disgusting movie.
Shout out to The Greasy Strangler. The man himself. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion, gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines, signing off.